I have been forced to create this video against my will because I'm a product of capitalism. I'm also really good at remembering titles of shows. This wasn't the third time I'd had a go at it. Absolutely not. I wanted to, this week, talk about something I've already talked about. We're revisiting the conversation hat, and the reason is that I think in my first conversation hat video, I told you what the show was and basically said, hey, go watch it. I don't think we've really covered the history of the show. Not in like any particular detail. I think I gave you some dates about when we started, but like I feel like I missed out some stuff. So I'm just gonna go back and fill in some blanks. So the conversation that started in whatever year it started, according to the last video I made. I think it was 2014. I think we started recording episodes 2013 and releasing 2014. But there's actually quite a lot of stuff that happened before that I want to talk about. I think we covered starting it and developing the show and the evolution and some of the highlights and why you should go watch it now or listen to it now. I think we covered that in the previous video, but we didn't talk about the actual creation of the show in the first case. I think we skipped quite a lot of stuff, which actually I think is kind of pertinent, and also it's an excuse to make another video, so here we are. Yes, so the original idea for the Conversation App podcast was to create a comedy sketch show, an audio thing. Audio sketches like Mitchell and Webb sound is a big influence on me, or like the early radio version of Mighty Boosh. That sort of thing is what we wanted to do. And when we first started doing that, it was going to be called Catchy Title Show, which is a silly name that I like very much. When we got into actually doing this show, we realised, oh crikey, that's a lot of work. One of the workarounds we came up with was, why not have some chatter in between? So we'll have like a handful of sketches, and then we'll have sequences where we'll do something more like a radio show or a podcast. Or we might even do something that sounds like a chat show, like a call-in thing, but it will be chat-based. So basically we're trying to find time-efficient ways to create content to fill gaps between sketches, and the sketches would be the thing that really sort of sells it. And we could do music as well, all of this stuff. Catchy Title Show. There were a bunch of us involved. And what ended up happening was we recorded a bunch of sketches and we just ran out of steam collectively. This was one of those things. This is one of, like a lot of projects in my past, it's something that I was driving very heavily, and other people were enthusiastic about getting involved, but that didn't transfer into being helpful and getting involved, which like a pattern that people seem to have. I sort of looked at what we were doing and I was like, right, Ben, you are the one that has contributed the most time to this other than me. Let's just do the chat-based side of this. Let's come up with a concept for a podcast where we can just sit down and talk about a thing, and we don't have to prep it, we don't really have to edit it, and that will be the show. And the aim was that we would still use these sketches and this music that we'd written, but it would be much more of this radio podcast thing, and maybe one sketch per episode or one piece of music per episode. That was how we went from Catchy Title Show to Conversation Hat. Of course, we had conversations around what should this show be. It was actually my partner, I think, that suggested, well, why don't you pull a question out of a hat? And we were like, what if we also called it that? So that's where the name came from, that's where the format came from, and that's pretty much what we've stuck with and developed over the years. Yeah, that's basically focus. There we go. That's basically what happened. We started out with an idea for something that was much more sketch based, and then we sort of developed into something that we could actually do and repeat. And every time we sort of develop the Conversation Hat, it's in order to make it run more efficiently. So hello. Every time we do occasionally look at the Conversation Hat and go, right, what can we do to make it more efficient? And one of those things is less music and less sketches, because those things, again, were hard, so that was a decision we made quite early on. I think we pretty much relied on that first batch of sketches and maybe recorded 2 or 3 other than those. Do I want to start including sketches in the conversation hat again? Not really. I would rather do a sketch show that is a sketch show, and that is something that I want to do at some point whenever I have time, is create a sketch show that is just an audio sketch show, and it isn't also a podcast, it isn't also something else, it's just sketches. At some time, maybe. I've written loads of stuff for it. Pretty okay stuff as well. You know, it's fine. Will it win awards? No. I mean, maybe it's mediocre enough to get funding.